So far, I've invested $300 into a single card from March of the Machine. Let's see if fortune favors the bold. Stay tuned to find out what it is. Hey everyone, welcome to Commander Pop Culture. If you like the video, be sure to subscribe so you'll be notified of future content. These are my top 10 Commander picks from the newest set, March of the Machine. The pre-release for this set is April 14th, and these are the cards you should keep an eye out for in the future. I've taken the time to sift through the chaff so you don't have to, so enjoy. The first half of the list will include best value cards, then the second half I'll go over the haymakers that win you the game. I'll go in power level from weakest to strongest. So let's get started. Number 10 pick, Phyrexian Censor. This is a hate bear with a Rule of Law and a creatures enter tapped effect printed on a single card. It also has a sweet stat block to boot. It disincentivizes opponents from attacking you. Unlike other hate bears, they have a meager stat block. Would buy this at the current price point because the price is negligible and it's nice to have in your collection to try whenever you feel like it. Number 9, Chrome Host Seed Shark. This is one of those cards that's an A-lister in the right decks. Things like Urza, Prismari, and KCI decks are the ones that first come to mind, mostly because it generates artifact permanents passively. If you see it hitting the table, you should be worried and press the removal panic button because the mana production will grow out of control. If this sticks in the right deck, they/you are most likely going to win the game because of it. For its price point, I'd pay for it. I suspect it will go down lower because it falls in the bulk rare category. However, I think overpaying $1 or $2 for early access is worth it. My number 8 pick is sort of once in future. Stat boosting, evasive, and protects your equipped creature. I'd run this in any Voltron deck just for those things alone. The cherry on top is you get to recast your efficient tutor/removal spells to keep accelerating your game or stunting your opponents. I think the card is overpriced. I'd wait to buy until the price settles around $10 to $15. I base this upon the history of settling price points of the other new swords. Fight your urge to buy immediately, but try to dump immediately if you get it in a pre-release. And number 7, Fairy Mastermind. Cheap mana costing, can be played at instant speed, and rides the coattails of my opponents that are trying to gain a lead. I think this is a staple in blue that everyone should play. Personally, I'd pre-order this card at its current price point. I suspect that there will be some volatility in its price as it tries to find a stabilization. I think the competitive player will go crazy for this card, and the casual player will most likely skip it. It will most likely increase its price at first and slightly below once it rotates out of standard. Pre-order price is most likely a good midpoint. Number 6, the final value card, Igna and Nasika. I have a lot to say about this card, so bear with me. This is the only team-up card I included in this list because it has the least inhibiting of ceilings. Casting creatures using 3 or more mana from creatures to cantrip is really easy to accomplish. Things like Kinnan, Leyline of Abundance, and Nyxwing Ancient are just a few enabling examples. I don't think this will top the Simic charts of commanders, but it is a strong contender. If not being played as a commander, you'll definitely find a home in the 99 in a lot of decks for sure. What most will overlook is it gives all your creatures vigilance, which enables an aggressive attacking strategy without sacrificing your cantrip payoff. This card also makes your creatures into mana dorks with a Cryptolith Right kind of effect, so you can get away with playing none if you wish. I'd play a token strategy to garner the most explosiveness. I think this card is really undervalued at its price point and worth buying now. I think this card will only go up in price. As a commander, this is an extremely dense card that players will have access to at any point in time of a game. Based on its price value, I'm under the impression that people don't give this card the credit it deserves. Give it time in the commander community because it will make people shudder when they hear the name Igna and Nasika. We're going to go into the haymakers. I'd like to preface that these cards are really well balanced and that you don't win the moment you play them. Opponents are afforded the chance to prevent themselves from losing, preventing the feel bads for the player, and garners less hate than things like Craterhoof and Expropriate. Instead, these include a wind-up before you deliver a decisive blow. My number 5 pick, Sheoldred. Everything about this card does is about filling your opponent's graveyards with creatures so you could reanimate them all under your control like Rise of the Dark Realms. Why this card sucks is transforming happens at sorcery speed, meaning you can't dodge removal by changing its identity. It also has a hoop to jump through in that it requires 8 cards in an opponent's graveyard. It really bottlenecks the productivity of the nice parts of this card. Flipping the card over is the hardest step to accomplish for multiple reasons. It forces you to depend on a set setup from other cards like Rise of the Dark Realms. Unlike Rise being a spell, people have to interact with it on the stack, it's way harder to deal with, while Shouldered is a permanent that can easily be interrupted. I don't know why they included the 8 card stipulation, because nobody wants to sink 10 mana into animating a measly number of creatures anyways. There are 2 turns for your opponents to interact with you once the Saga clock starts. Plus, there are also no guarantees that you win once you reanimate everything. All the Praetors from the set are a tempo and stipulation-ridden nightmare. This card definitely deserves the weakest Haymaker spot, which is why I think this card is grossly overpriced. Don't pay for it as it currently stands. You can get a better card out of Rise of the Dark Realms for just $13. This card is worth half that, if that. You'll be calling yourself an idiot for paying more than $7 for this card, and that's for the alternate art that I'm talking about. Number 4, Urabrask is a unique Praetor in the set in that her front side is just as powerful as her rear. The front side is a win condition because it turns all your spells into a ping and adds mana to your pool to cast more spells. The mana you produce from casting that third spell will cover the cost of flipping her, which is why she has the best flip activation costs out of all the Praetors in the set. The first 2 chapters on the rear side are just gravy, while the real potatoes / game ender is the final chapter's Past in Flames effect. She flicks back over to the front side, and you get to ping your opponents to death with the spells from your graveyard. Essentially, you cast the spells in your deck twice, which is part of why people play Kess, but she doesn't have the win condition printed on her. The only thing that sucks is you can't run out of gas real quick. You're not guaranteed to win, and thus you will need to fill your deck with card advantage. Currently, this card in art is priced at around $35. I'd say this price point is close to where she will probably bottom out at. It'll dip down early after pre-release. If you can get it around high 20s, I'd be happy, because I could see that card selling much higher than the pre-order price. Number 3, Jin-Gitaxias. Having 7+ cards in hand in blue is not that hard to do. Once you start the Saga side, the soul-crushing waterfall will begin. The art is quite fitting. Protecting this permanent will also be easy for blue to do. Reaching the final chapter can also be accelerated with Sphinx of the Second Sun and extra turn spells. With the 14+ cards in hand due to the first chapter and rolling into the final chapter, the likelihood of you winning is extremely high. If what you got is not enough, you'll also see more cards for when it flips back to its creature side and cantrip off 3 CMC plus non-creature spells. If you still need more cards, you could flip it again and double your hand size again for the low price of 4 mana. The Omniscience effect sticks. It doesn't go away at end of turn. As for the card's pricing, it's overpriced because it's new, but not by much. Omniscience sits at $12, but because I'm guaranteed to have a full grip of cards, I'd pay more money for Jin-Gitaxias. However, the tempo issues and chances for people to interact with you would be a reason to pay less for it. It's hard to evaluate the price because it's a crazy double-edged sword. If you can get this around $20 in this art, I'd say you're getting it for a fair price. It could grow in price due to the value. Time will only tell if you're getting it for a steal. If it loses value, I wouldn't be upset over it because you'd still gain a powerful card in your collection. My number 2 pick, Etali, Primal Conqueror. She's nice because you get something the turn you play it, so if someone removes it at instant speed, you still get the free spells from the ETB trigger. The drawback is the mana investment. 7 mana to play, 9 mana to flip over to the coveted Blightsteel 2.0 side. Luckily, you're in the right colors of Gruul to bypass those drawbacks. Red in order to haste enable her for tempo, and green to ramp you there. You can get a better alternative of Blightsteel Colossus for $35. Thus, I'd say the $7 price tag is fair considering the hoops you have to jump through to get what you want. I suspect this card to lose monetary value, but not enough to get sore over. The Piece of Resistance, my number 1 pick, City on Fire. Of all of the windups discussed in the previous Haymakers, this card has the shortest. It is short enough that it can be argued that it is on par with Craterhoof and Expropriate. In a go-wide strategy, you will catch people with their pants down and alpha strike people to death. It's a fiery emancipation with Convoke. I suspect people will be paying little mana to play this card. Currently, Fiery Emancipation's going for $20. For this pre-order price tag, that feels like a steal. This feels weirdly underpriced. Might have to look into that.
One eternity later.
Okay, so I believe this could be an opportunity to jump on one of the safest speculations an investor could make a ton of money on. I checked on other online stores like TCG Player and eBay. They're already spiking at double the price, while Cool Stuff and Star City have empty inventories. I think I stumbled onto something that other investors are already speculating on. Based on the research I've done, I expect this card to spike even more. I have confidence in this card because of the popularity of Fiery Emancipation. I'm going to go all in on this. I may have already missed the beginning of a big wave when it was first spoiled, however, it may not be too late to jump on and catch a part of it. If I'm right, I'm going to reinvest the money made into the hobby of collecting and playing Magic the Gathering for tax exemption purposes. The hobby's already getting incredibly expensive, and maybe speculating on cards could be a way to reduce the cost of playing. I haven't tried it before. I've always been good at evaluating cards, and I always kick myself for not putting my money where my mouth is. This is probably just a baby step in my very first speculation attempt, a trial run, as you could say. So far, I've nabbed 18 copies at $6 and 16 copies at $9. If this card reaches the suspected $20 value like Fiery Emancipation, I stand to make a significant profit margin after shipping and taxes. The only risk I could foresee that the printing rarity of this card is at rare and not mythic like Fiery Emancipation. So there's a 5 to 7% printing quantity difference. And I don't know if that will make a significant impact. If I'm wrong, it's worth the price of learning. If I'm right, it'll be really funny to buy from CK only sell it back to them at an incredible price. So far, my investment is $288, and I'm extremely excited to see where it all goes. As for my closing thoughts, this may have been the most balanced set of Magic cards WotC's ever put out. I don't suspect a single card from the set being banned in formats. Good job playtesting. Sadly, I suspect because of it, it will hurt the value of boxes as time passes. If wanting to invest in boxes or singles, I'd wait for prices to settle at a much lower price. With the exception of City on Fire, I'd at the earliest buy boxes and singles at the spoiler season of Wilds of Eldraine.